Hello students, today we will do the poem Why I Like the Hospital. It is a very interesting poem. The poet uses humor to lure his readers because he feels beauty has humor has more power than beauty. All his poems have a dry kind of a humor. It is almost like a satire. In fact, the poem that you all are going to do is a satire. Now, the title itself is very baffling. Why I like the hospital? The poet asks a question, and through the poem, he will be answering the question also. He starts the poem, that's why, with because. He says, I like the hospital because it is all right to be in a bad mood there. Normally, if you are in real life, in society, if you roam about with a sullen face, sulky face, people will say, oh my God, this man is so horrible. This man or woman is so negative, so sulky. Let's avoid him. People like cheerful people. So even if you are not in the mood, you are down, you're going through pain, you have to put on a smile to be accepted by people. This has become a very serious mental issue. I tell you, here the poet addresses the same thing. He says, it is all right to be in a bad mood there because in a hospital, nobody is going to tell you to smile. You can slouch along through the underground garage. Garage gives a sense of, underground garage gives you a sense of, seriousness, sadness, undesirability. Garage, underground garage is not a place where people want to be. It is dark. Okay. Riding wordlessly on the elevator with the other customers. When you go to a hotel and ride the elevator, you're chatting or you're in a very happy mood. You often look at the mirror. But here in the elevator of a hospital, quickly people are just, they're just quiet with serious faces. They just want to reach where they are going. They stare at the closed beige doors like a prison wall. It is as if I'm trapped inside the elevator. It gives a feeling of being in a prison. I am trapped in sorrow, in uncertainty, maybe death. Next, I like the hospital for the way it grants permission for pathos. He gives us example. Grants permission because if you step into a hospital, nobody asks you to be cheerful and be gaga and smile at you. Even if you just nod at a person or you don't nod at a person, you don't acknowledge anybody, it's okay. There is no social etiquette or formality or behavior to be maintained here. You can be alone with your sorrow, tension, whatever. He gives us example. The mother with cancer deciding how to tell her kids. So a mother who has been diagnosed with cancer is deciding, is wondering, thinking, how will I tell my kids? The bald girl gazing downward at the shunt. Shunt is a tube, okay, a small tube installed above her missing breast. So somebody has gone through operation. Her breast has been removed and she has become bald because of chemotherapy. So she's just looking at her breast. So this is what, I'm expressing grief that a part of my body has been removed. Okay. The crone in her pajamas walking with an ivy pole. Crone means she's an ugly woman. She's diseased, ugly, old. She can watch, nobody is going to, body shame her or look at her and say, oh my God, she's not dressed properly or she looks ugly. She walks with an ivy pole. Ivy pole is a stand attached to a saline or a medication that goes into your vein. That is called IV, intravenous. I don't like the smell of antiseptic. The smell in a hospital is very repulsive. You don't like it. It smells of antiseptic or phenol or something like that, disinfectant. Or the air condition set on high all night. There is high air condition because there are a lot of medicines and patients go comfortable practically. There is a lot of high air conditioning going on. That is also, sometimes it is disturbing. Or the fresh flowers tossed into the waste basket. Normally, if you are given a fresh bunch of flowers, you take it and keep it in a vase. But here, you can take the fresh flowers and just toss it into a basket. Nobody is going to question you. This line shows human callousness. It is allowed in a hospital. You can be callous. Callous means careless. But I like the way some people on their plastic chairs break out a notebook and invent a complex scoring system to tally up their days on earth. It is as if somebody is sitting. Literally, maybe people are not sitting with a notebook and writing what bad they have done and what good they have done. This comes from the Christian belief that God maintains a register of good deeds and bad deeds. Okay, this is just a metaphorical thing he's saying. He wants to just say that we sit over there and think, what have I done bad? What have I done good? How has my life been? To tally up their days on earth. Tally means I'm counting my days on earth. The column on the left that says, times I acted like a fool. The column on the right says, times I acted like a saint. So the man or the woman, or the person in his mind is making two columns. Times I acted like a fool, times I acted like a saint. So good deeds, bad deeds, foolish deeds. Instead of saying bad deeds, the poet prefers to say foolish deeds. I like the long prairie of the waiting. This is a metaphor. Long prairie of waiting means the constant long wait. We don't know how long we have to wait. And forced intimacy of the self with self. Normally in real life, we are busy interacting with the outside world. We never interact with our own self. We don't look into ourselves. So here is a place where you are left alone with your own self. So you are forced to question yourself. Go into yourself. Talk with the self. Interact with yourself. Each sick person standing in the middle of a field. It is as if each sick person is standing alone in the middle of a huge field. Now this is a reference to the contemporary world. This poem also refers to the callousness, cold-heartedness of the modern world, where people just don't care about anyone. They leave sick people, diseased people, disabled people, people who are different, just to live and die on their own. My old mother may be a burden for my life, so it is okay to just dump her in a home. My ailing sister may be a burden to me, so it is okay if I don't take care of her and leave her to some house helps. So this is coldness, cold-heartedness. So the sick person is standing like a tree. This is a simile. Again, there is another simile in the line. There's another simile in the first paragraph, last line, like a prison wall. That is also a simile. So here also there is a simile, like a tree wondering what happened to the forest. So I'm standing alone on the huge field like a tree. What happened to the forest? Where are the people who were used to be close by? So a lonely tree is standing and thinking, where are my neighbors? I was a part of the forest. Now I am alone. Similarly, the human being is sick, sad, sorry, and standing alone with his own pain, and nobody's around, and he's thinking, what happened to the people around me? Where is the crowd? I had so many people. Where is my family? Where are my friends? Where are the people who used to be with me? Everybody has deserted me. And once I saw a man in a lime green dressing gown, hunched over a chair. A man who was not yelling at the doctors or pretending to be strong or making a murmured phone call to his wife. He was not doing anything. He was just sitting there. He was in his green dressing gown. But one, sobbing without shame. The man was sobbing without shame, pumping it all out from the bottom of the self. The overflowing bilge of helplessness and rage. A man no longer expecting to be saved. He was crying his heart out, jisko hum bolte. He was crying and crying and crying. From the bottom of his self, he was bringing out all that was there. And everything was overflowing. There was helplessness, there was rage. Like a huge wave, everything was coming out. Because a man, he was at his last stage. He was not expecting anything to happen to him. He was just not expecting that somebody is going to come and save him. What is going to happen to him? He's just crying his heart out. hopelessness, helplessness sometimes brings that out of you. And here there is no restriction. You cannot cry in front of your family members, they will be disturbed. In front of your family, you cannot express this grief. Often you will hear the phrase, I cried in the bathroom. I closed the door and cried. Because we are not used to expressing our true self to our people. Here we can do that. But if you looked, you could see that he was holding his own hand in sympathy. See, you are with yourself. You're holding your own hand in sympathy and consoling yourself. It is all right. You can vent out, cry, bring it out. Listening to every word. As if your sympathetic self is listening to every word that you're saying. See, that's why, mental health experts, big thinkers, philosophers, everybody always says that. Even common people who are, whom we follow, they say, successful people, that you have to make a bond with yourself. If you have a bond with yourself, then there will be no problems. So yourself is the best friend that you can have. Here the poet is stressing on that only, that your sympathetic self is listening to every word, and he was telling himself everything. I have never told myself, I've never acknowledged what I have gone through. So it is called, this is a stage of grief also. Grief has many stages. All these things you will not hear in our country, in India. These are things which Westerners follow. They have different stages to go through grief. So at least the poet is saying that at least crying out, and accepting, instead of going into denial and thinking toxically positive things, and relying on this faith and that God and this God, it can only give you strength. Mind it, I'm not anti-religion. I'm not saying anything against it. I'm just saying that instead of relying on any other force, you have to rely on yourself. You are the only force that can fight any battle or give yourself sympathy. Nobody else can be your friend as much as you can. So this is what the poet here tries to tell us, that especially this poem is relevant in the contemporary world, because the poet also, I think, suffered from cancer and he passed away. So he must have gone through all this. And he tells us that this is the way to deal with yourself, to deal with this world, that you have to befriend yourself. One side he's satirically hinting at the world that you look here, you are so cold, you are dry, you have nothing to offer me. And on one side he's saying that I have to live in this world, so I have to make myself my best friend. So this is the poem. I hope you have understood. And if you have any doubts, you can comment in the comment boxes. Please subscribe my channel so that you can get more videos. Like and share it with your friends so that everybody can benefit from it. And another thing I want to say is that the critical appreciation of the poem, which will help you to write answers, will be given after we finish quite a few poems. Thank you so much.